every living thing, this is a law of nature, every living thing has to seek nutriment to constantly rebuild and maintain itself. You know, plants do, animals do, insects do, and we do. That's a law, it's fundamental to the law of gravity. So these needs we feel as feelings, and we just can't avoid them. So, for example, you have a feeling of hunger or thirst, or even more basic than that. You know, you panic very quickly if you can't breathe. You know, because that is an emotional response. So, but we also have these, the higher mammals and us, particularly human beings, have emotional needs. And these emotional needs are very important too, you know. So we have a need for security, a need for control, for volition. We have the need for privacy so that we can reflect on things. And we have a need for attention, to exchange attention. You know, that's how families develop, or any culture develops, is because of an exchange of attention, giving and receiving attention. So we have a need for competence. We have a need to be connected to the community. We have a fundamental need for meaning. All these needs are so important that they should be the basis of any psychological research or intervention that anyone's trying to make. And so we started teaching this, and it really caught people's imagination.
What would you say the most unmet needs in our society today are?
The need for meaning, I would say, is probably because, say, look at things like iPhones and iPads and Facebook and Twitter and all those things. They're capturing people's attention. And so their attention isn't focused on getting their real needs met. And I think that's a big problem for society. And, you know, there's lots of research coming out now how young people in schools and colleges and universities are not functioning very well because of this. You see, we come into the world with a limited amount of attention every morning. You know, we wake up, it's a form of energy. And if we just are constantly peering at our iPhones and, you know, how many likes I've got and all that stuff that people do, you're not actually living. You're not really living. You're not really questioning the universe and connecting up to something bigger than yourself. And you need to do that. You know, human beings have a sort of, this is a cliche, I suppose, but they have a sort of divine spark in them that wants to know, that really wants to know. But if you subsume that in the world of technology and with marvelous things and all the rest of it, iPhones and iPads and all the rest, computers like we're using now, wonderful up to a point. But if they are stopping us getting our needs for connection to the community, the real community, I'm talking about real people, you know, not on Facebook or something, you actually take away the drive that people have to develop, to really develop. And so development then becomes a sort of a cliche thing, like, oh, I'll go and do a mindfulness course, or I'll do this, that, and the other. But it's not about development. You know, it might calm you down or has some beneficial effects, but it's not what the human beings are here for.
Can you tell me about a time in your own life when you experienced something really difficult and how you overcame it? And maybe could you talk about the importance of actually having difficulties and problems in your life as well?
Well, the thing about difficulties is, on the whole, they're jolly good. You know, what difficulties you have to overcome, you know, which can be in relationships, in business, in health, they strengthen you. You know, if you give in to them, you become anxious and depressed. So I suppose one of the first big difficulties was going to school at all. You know, I hated it because, you know, the sun was shining. I wanted to climb trees when I was little and play and be with my mates, you know. But so that was a big difficulty. You had to kind of knuckle down, as they say. And and just do all the things that you were asked to do, so that you could get out at the end of the day and go home and play and do the things you've been wanting to do all day long. So that was a big difficulty for me. I mean, I've had difficulties like everybody. I mean, but generally there's always afterwards you think, if you have a business failure, for example, you learn from it. You learn an enormous amount. I've spoken to dozens and dozens of business people who've been successful, but they've all had failures in their business career, and they said that was the most valuable part of becoming successful, was the failures they had. And I mean, in therapy, if you meet somebody and they've had a terrible relationship and perhaps they've been abused or whatever, but you can say to them, and you should say to them, you'll never make that mistake again, will you? You'll learn from that. So you reframe even terrible things as a learning experience. And I think that's true. You know, I mean, I've had health problems, relationship problems, and business problems, and it's all grist to the mill, isn't it? I mean, we come into this world and we need difficulties. You know, we're a problem-solving creature. We actually need problems. I mean, when you say that, some people look at you, I don't need any problems. I want my life to be perfect all the time. Well, that's ridiculous. In fact, problems get the brain working. You've got to solve problems. There's an old saying, which I love. It comes from the Middle East, and it just shows there's a lot of wisdom in ordinary people. That if you've got no problems, buy a goat, because that'll give you problems, you know. And so they're wonderful source of materials, these old sayings, that are psychologically very astute. And that's one of them. We do need problems. We need them because without problems, the brain's got nothing to work on, and the brain needs to be kept busy.
For someone listening to this, what are some simple practical things they can do today to start improving their emotional well-being?
Well, one very useful and important thing is to consider where you put your attention, where you focus your attention. I mean, if you're wasting your attention energy, which is what a lot of people do, you won't develop as a rounded individual. Like I was talking about people wasting their attention on iPhones and Facebooks and all that sort of thing. You've only got a limited amount of that, and you need to think very seriously what you want to do with that attention capacity that you have. So that's one tip. Think seriously about attention, and be aware that people are harvesting your attention. They're trying to sell you stuff all the time by harvesting your attention online. That's a very serious thing. And the other thing is just to read widely about what people actually need. You know, have an understanding of innate needs and innate resources in human beings, so that you can understand your own behavior better and the behavior of the people around you, and the people, if you're in therapy or want to be a therapist or a doctor or a nurse or whatever, so you can have a better understanding of people, and not just react emotionally all the time. Emotional arousal makes us stupid by and large, because it focuses. Emotions always focus attention, and when your attention's focused, you can't see the bigger picture. And a human being who's sort of fairly developed well is able to focus their attention at will and then defocus it, see the bigger attention. So you focus on solving a little problem, but then you step back in your mind and see a much bigger context. And the ability to do that freely is what self-development's about. It's focusing and defocusing attention. You never see the bigger context unless you defocus your attention. So if people are just put all their attention on making money, or seducing people, or being entertained all the time, and that's their attention is taken up by entertainment all the time. There's nothing wrong with entertainment, but everything in proportion. So be aware of your attention, and be aware of what people need and what you need, and learn about it, really understand it. And not just think you understand it because you read a book. You've got to experience it out in the world with other people. It's experiencing and observing.
And Ivan, where can people find more information about the Human Givens Institute online?
Well, Dr. Google will usually tell you put in Human Givens Institute and it'll come up, and you can go on there. And Human Givens College, if you're interested in training, and you can do online training and then come to actual events and workshops where you learn the skills, and you can do a diploma. And it's people who get on our register as fully qualified human givens therapists. The register is accredited by the Professional Standards Authority, which is the same body that accredits, for example, BACP and all the other types of therapeutic approaches. So get on that register if you're really keen to help people using these kinds of ideas and learning the techniques, but also having the understanding, and also have the humility to know that however much you know now, there's still more to learn.